To me, a just wage is a wage that would allow someone to be able to not only provide for their families, provide for themselves, but also enable them to live a meaningful and fulfilling life.
What comes to mind are terms like living wage, minimum wage, but I think what we're talking about at the end of the day is an amount of remuneration that is provided by an employer to a worker in order to ensure that they can maintain an adequate standard of living.
It encompasses so much more than just the dollars per hour or what the salary is. Depending on the economics of a particular organization, you can pay a living wage and still not have it be a just wage.
But the just wage also must reflect a sane scheduling, reliability of hours, not being overworked, the ability to advance and save for the future. And the just wage must also reflect total inclusion of an area community so that there's no discrimination that is in some ways depressing someone's wages while elevating others.
So for me, a just wage encompasses all of those aspects that really deal with the flourishing of the human person.
The most fundamental component of a just wage really involves its livability, the way that it actually creates a sustainable livelihood for workers and their families.
It's about human agency, the ability to make decisions about your life as an independent person.
Is its adequacy, by which I mean its ability to cover the material needs of the individual and his or her family.
The most fundamental component of just wage is non-discrimination.
The process of arriving at a just wage is extremely important because that means that both labor and management are communicating well and they are respecting each other's needs.
And on the other side of that coin, if someone's able to participate in the structure that they work in and they're able to reach a point where they're satisfied with the wage that they receive for the work that they do, it's a strong indication that we've gotten to sort of a just wage arrangement.
When I think of a just wage, I believe that the most fundamental piece of it is a security piece. Knowing that if you put your time into work, if you do what you're asked to do, that you can in return expect some security for you and your family.
So all of those components go into what I would say is the dignity of a just wage. And any employment relationship should reflect those criteria that permit the dignity of the individual worker.
Important aspect for us is really to be looking at inequalities. With inequalities, these have really severe social and economic consequences. It is not really just about people earning less, but it's also people not being able to join society fully.
There's just an enormous imbalance of power in most of America's workplaces. Employers are effectively dictating terms, and in that circumstances, wages are even wages that are pretty high are fundamentally unjust.
We can have a certain number that allows people to cover their basic needs, and they're still taking unnecessary risks at work. They're still taking abuse at work. So, they're still living in unsafe communities. They can pay for housing, but they can't pay for housing in a safe community.
And our laws, as well as the enforcement of our laws in the United States today, don't reflect the way the economy has been transformed over the last half century. That's made it easier and easier for employers to treat workers solely as a commodity.
There's no check on corporate power, and little attention is paid to workers' vital role in producing goods and services. We need to better level the playing field so that workers have more power to be active participants in decision-making, including determining a just wage.
If we had a stronger regulatory framework around, really pro-worker labor law that would support workers' rights, I think that would move us forward toward finding justice at work.
the just wage framework is really helpful in the sense of providing a systemic framework for thinking about wages, providing 7 criteria, providing research that backs it up.
What I love about the just wage framework is that it's practical and it's rooted in the theoretical, the long-standing tradition, the faith teachings that are honestly so often ignored. And I also love that it's comprehensive. It's not just about the money, but about all of those things that it takes to live a full and meaningful life.
I ran a small business for many years. I would have loved to have had a tool such as this where I could have benchmarked, or I think one of the questions on every one of the criteria is, who does it well? You know, business is great at emulating success of others. We don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. That's not the way efficiency works in the business world.
I also think the framework provides a rubric for employers and businesses to measure themselves against and to provide a guideline for establishing just workplaces. It provides a guideline for policymakers to ensure that public policies and practices prioritize people over productivity and profit, and that they encourage business practices that benefit both employers and their workers.
Anything that gets people, whether they be activists, academics, policymakers, trade unionists, workers, and the like, talking about wages, justice at work, will have the ability to push the campaign for a just wage forward.
So when we can make a list of 7 different criteria and say, these are essential things that we can agree on, that if we can implement these ideas in our workplace, that will benefit not only the employee, but the employer and the entire economy. I think that that's a really great starting place for this conversation.